General Hospital teasers for the next 2 weeks, September 1st to September 12th, predict that someone will seek vengeance on Drew Kane and cause a daddy issue for Scout Quartermain. Jason Morgan will also encounter a major twist, so let's talk about all of the surprises to come. The week of September 1st to 5th will begin with a rerun on Monday, September 1st, followed by brand new episodes. Sonny Corinthos will help Danny Morgan and Rocco Falconeri cope with the body they discovered. Of course, the body will be identified as Judge Eva Heron. Jen Sidwell is probably to fault for getting rid of Judge Heron before she could reveal too much to Sonny. Meanwhile, Willow Tate's decision to reconcile with Drew for the purpose of the custody dispute will raise concerns for Harrison Chase. Lucas Jones will urge Elizabeth Baldwin to be cautious. Liz may be becoming too involved in Willow's problems for Lucas. Portia Robinson is also planning an announcement, so we'll see if it's about her divorce from Curtis Ashford or something else. Curtis will confide in Jordan Ashford, so he may reveal there was some truth to Portia's claim that his heart still belongs to his ex. Next, there will be a 911 call and a crime that will shake Port Charles to its core. Assuming this is not related to what occurred to Judge Heron, this could be the ultimate blow for Drew. Someone may attempt to eliminate Drew and leave him clinging to life somewhere. Drew may be rushed to GH in a critical fight for survival, while Chase and Anna Devane eventually question some suspects. Nina Reeves will engage in some dangerous activity. We'll see Nina take a risk of some kind, so maybe she'll hide some evidence if it appears Willow went after Drew. Trina Robinson also has some tense moments ahead of her, so she may get concerned that Portia, Curtis, or perhaps Kai Taylor went too far against Drew. Michael Corinthos will ultimately receive updates on some new information, and we'll see if it's relevant to Drew's situation. On another note, Jason will be surprised, while Jocelyn, Jax, and Vaughn are concerned that they will not survive their mission. Jason may ride to the rescue after Britt Westbourne uses that burner phone to summon him back to the Five Poppies Resort. Jack Brennan, on the other hand, will utilize his manipulative skills to his advantage when it comes to Anna and everything he is attempting to keep from her. Fans may witness the repercussions of Jason saving Jocelyn and Vaughn between September 8th and 12th. If Jason comes through for the WSB duo, he will have a lot of questions and concerns. Nonetheless, Jocelyn will survive this horror and will eventually be able to return home to Carly. When Jason discovers Jocelyn's WSB agent status, would he be willing to keep silent or insist that Carly know the truth? Of course, we need talk about hostage Rick Lansing, as Molly Lansing Davis may detect he is missing. The same goes for Elizabeth Baldwin, thus she may investigate Rick's disappearance. Alexis Davis, Christina Corinthos Davis, and Ava Jerome will try to cover their tracks, but this Rick disaster will be more difficult than they anticipated. Scout may get terrified and severely disturbed by Drew's whodunit scenario. Scout may worry about losing another parent. There's also Ryan Pavy's impending return, so GH writers will create the stage for his return, whether as Nathan or another character associated with the project at the Five Poppies Resort. According to General Hospital spoilers, Willow Tate may lose her cool as Drew Kane breaks his pledge. Will Judge Eva Heron's death cause a nasty meltdown? Someone is about to try to kill Drew, and the writing is on the wall. Other characters are threatening Drew on a regular basis, so everything is falling into place for the long-awaited whodunit. Willow is one of the few people in Port Charles that still wants Drew alive. Willow believes Drew is her only choice for reuniting with her children, but she may not feel this way for long. Willow must be on the suspect list if somebody is going to try to wipe Drew off the map. It would be ridiculous to exclude Willow from any potential mystery plot, so she needs another cause to turn against Drew. Perhaps Judge Heron's abrupt death is related to that. Now that Judge Heron has been discovered floating in the water, she cannot be questioned or provide any confirmation of the bribe she accepted. Drew has no evidence that Judge Heron received this bribe at all. Drew is now relying solely on information obtained from Marco Rios, but Sidwell may take steps to disrupt any probe into Judge Heron's financial information. Drew has been acting as if he can obtain a new judge who is more favorable, but wouldn't he have done it the first time if he could? Whether Willow believes Sonny Corinthos is behind the bribery plot or not, she may be concerned that Drew will be unable to prove anything, and that the next judge will not find in her favor. In addition, Michael Corinthos was heated up enough to discuss postponing the visitation hearing indefinitely following Drew's most recent threats. Willow may soon accuse Drew for killing Judge Heron and lose her cool over this visitation hearing, which is repeatedly halted. Drew will be full of broken promises for the umpteenth time, so Willow could be pushed over the edge. Willow might probably join the suspect pool once the whodunit begins, so stay tuned for any shocking Drew news to come. Cameron Matheson just stated on Instagram that he would not be leaving the program, suggesting that Drew may escape the next assassination attempt. However, GH writers could still get a lot of drama out of someone attempting to erase Drew permanently. Scout had always felt like an outsider in Willow Creek, a town where everyone knew each other's business and no one held grudges. Her mother, Lila, had raised her alone in a small trailer on the outskirts of town, working extra shifts at the diner to stay afloat. Scout's father was a mystery, a shadow that lurked in the background of their lives but never materialized. Lila hesitated to speak about him, forcing her lips into a narrow line whenever Scout inquired. "He's gone and we're better for it," she'd remark, her voice sharper than glass. But Scout was not so sure. Her father's absence felt like a missing piece of a puzzle, and she had recently been digging, piecing together murmurs and half-truths from the townspeople. She'd heard strange legends about a man named Caleb, a vagrant who had fled Willow Creek years before. Could he be the key to understanding why her life seemed so shattered? Drew, however, was the immediate issue. Scout was the mayor's son, untouchable in the eyes of the community, but he didn't care about his position. She'd spent days planning, her notebook full with ideas ranging from minor pranks to complete anarchy. She decided on a simple but devastating plan. She would hack into Drew's cherished social media account, which he used to showcase his wonderful life, and publish a confession. Not just any confession but a fake one, admitting to something so shameful that it would haunt him for years. She'd spent nights learning the fundamentals of phishing from shady web forums, her fingers speeding over her aging laptop's keyboard. The plan was hazardous, but Scout thrived on it. It was the only thing that kept her feeling alive. Meanwhile, across town, Drew's older brother Jason was dealing with his own storm. At 22, he was supposed to be the responsible one, the one who had left Willow Creek for college and a better future. But he was back, crashing on the couch in his parents' beautiful colonial, his law school hopes dashed by a secret he could not shake. Jason had always been the nice son, the one who obeyed the rules, but he was starting to disintegrate. He'd unearthed something about their family, something buried deep and connected to Scout's father, Caleb. Jason had discovered an old letter in his father's study, hidden inside a locked drawer that he had wrenched open out of boredom. Caleb signed the letter, which was addressed to his mother and dated 18 years ago. It discussed love, betrayal, and a kid. Jason's heart stopped when he read it. Was Scout his sister? The revelation hit Jason like a freight train. He'd always knew his parents' marriage was strained. His father's late nights at the mayor's office, his mother's fake smiles at community events, but this was different. If Scout was his sister, his entire life was based on a lie. He couldn't look at his father the same way, and he couldn't sit through another family dinner without feeling the weight of that secret on his chest. He wanted to approach his parents, but each time he tried, the words stuck in his throat. Instead, he observed Scout from a distance, noting how she handled herself and the defiance in her gaze. She didn't look like him, but something about her intransigence and inability to bend felt familiar. Scout, ignorant to Jason's turmoil, was too preoccupied with her plan to notice how he remained near the gas station, his pickup truck idling across the street. She'd sent Drew a bogus email masquerading as a notification from his preferred gaming platform, leading him into clicking a link that would grant her access to his account. Her heart raced as she checked her laptop, expecting for him to fall for it. She had no idea why Drew had selected her. Maybe it was because she didn't fawn over him like the other females, or maybe he saw her weakness in the way she winced when anybody mentioned her father. Whatever the cause, she was beyond being his punching bag. Back at the mayor's house, Jason sat in the dark with the letter crumpled in his fist. He'd spent hours rereading it, looking for hints, but it simply led to more questions. Why did his mother keep it? Why did Caleb leave? And why did the letter make no mention of Scout's name, instead referring to the child? He needed answers, but approaching his parents was like walking into a minefield. His father, Mayor Richard, valued control more than anything else, and his mother, Ellen, was an expert at concealing painful truths. Jason had always respected their ability to maintain the family's image, but now it felt smothering. Scout's idea came together faster than she had anticipated. Drew clicked the link and was logged in within hours. His social media presence was a goldmine, with photographs of him flexing at the gym, partying at the lake, and posing with his father at local events. She meticulously worded the post, confessing that he had cheated on every significant test since sophomore year. It was a falsehood, but one that was plausible considering Drew's reputation for slacking off in class. She paused for a time, her finger lingering over the post button. This was more than just revenge. It was a declaration of war. Once she pressed that key, there was no turning back. Crosstown, Jason made a choice. He couldn't keep the letter for himself any longer. He drove to the diner where Lila worked, his hands trembling as he held the wheel. He wasn't sure what to say, but he wanted to know if Scout was his sister. When he came in, the diner was virtually empty, with fluorescent lights casting a bright glow across the checkered floor. Lila was wiping off the counter, her expression tired but pleasant. Jason paused and then requested a coffee, stalling. He had no idea how to start the conversation, or even if Lila was aware of the letter. However, as he sat there watching her pour the coffee, he realized he couldn't wait any longer. Scout clicked post and leaned back, her heart hammering. Within minutes, her phone was flooded with notifications as the post spread like wildfire. Drew's idealized vision was dissolving, and she felt a thrill of triumph mixed with despair. She knew he'd come for her, and that he'd recognize her. But she was prepared. She'd been hiding too long, allowing people like Drew to trample all over her. This was her moment. Jason, sitting at the diner, eventually had the courage to ask Lila about Caleb. When his name came up, her countenance shifted and her eyes narrowed. "Why do you want to learn about him?" she asked, her voice low. Jason picked out the letter and slid it across the counter. Lila's hands froze, and her breath caught when she recognized the penmanship. She remained silent for a long time, staring at the paper with an unreadable face. Finally, she looked up at Jason, her eyes filled with something he couldn't identify. Wrath, terror, or both. "You shouldn't have this," she replied, her voice scarcely audible. Scout's victory was short-lived. By daybreak, Drew had tracked the hack down to her, and he wasn't alone. His cronies, a group of devoted followers, surrounded her behind the school, their faces twisted with rage. Drew didn't say much. He just stood there, arms crossed and gaze cold. "You think you're smart, right?" he remarked, moving closer. Scout refused to back down, even as her gut wrenched. She knew this was coming and had planned for it, but the actuality of facing him was different. She clenched her hands, prepared to fight if necessary. Jason was still reeling from his chat with Lila. She hadn't verified anything, nor had she denied it. She ordered him to leave it alone and quit digging, but Jason couldn't. He drove to the school, wanting to meet Scout, talk to her, and find out if she knew anything about Caleb. When he pulled into the parking lot, he noticed the gathering behind the building and heard shouting. His heart fell as he recognized Scout's voice, piercing and rebellious against the background commotion. Scout didn't notice Jason approaching. She was too concentrated on Drew, on the way his pals crowded in, their laughter mimicking the video from the cafeteria. She was about to swing when Jason burst through the crowd, his voice booming. "Back off!" he exclaimed, moving between Scout and Drew. Drew was taken aback, and his friends exchanged nervous glances. Jason did not glance at Scout and did not explain why he was there. He just stood his ground, jaw firm, eyes fixed on Drew. For a brief moment, everything was still. Scout's breath caught as her mind raced. Why was Jason here? Why was he aiding her? She didn't trust him or anyone in this town, yet something about his gaze made her pause. Drew turned away, muttering something about how this was not over, and the crowd dispersed, leaving Scout and Jason alone. "Are you okay?" Jason inquired, his voice calmer now. Scout nodded, being apprehensive. She didn't know what to make of him or why he'd stepped in, but as they stood there, the weight of their shared secrets lingered between them, unspoken but palpable. Scout had no idea about the letter or Jason's concerns, but she felt something shift, as if the ground under her was no longer solid. Jason wanted to tell her everything, but he wasn't sure where to begin. Instead, he offered her a ride home, and to his astonishment she agreed. Neither of them talked as they drove through Willow Creek's calm streets, with the sun sinking behind them. However, the silence was not empty. It was loaded with questions, possibilities, and the possibility of truths that may change everything. Scout's main focus had been vengeance, but suddenly something bigger was stirring. For Jason, the answers he sought were closer than ever, but they came at a cost he wasn't sure he could afford. And in the shadows of Willow Creek, the past awoke, ready to devastate the lives of everyone it touched. Heron had been more than just a mentor to Willow. He had been the closest thing she'd had to family since leaving home years before. She suspected foul involvement in his death, which had been officially ruled an accident. The judge had been too meticulous, too intelligent to die in a random vehicle accident. Willow had spent weeks piecing together parts of his previous cases, investigating rumors of corruption in the city's legal system. Heron was on the point of revealing something significant, something hazardous, and Willow was convinced it would cost him his life. Drew, a private investigator with a talent for uncovering secrets, had been her companion in this silent campaign. They'd spent late nights reading over records, drawing the ties between corrupt politicians and corporate fixers. He'd promised to meet her tonight with new proof, which he dubbed a game changer, but the clock had passed midnight and Drew was nowhere to be found. There was no call or message, just quiet. Willow's rage stew then boiled over. She banged her fist on the window frame, the resulting pain anchoring her for a while. She couldn't wait any longer. If Drew didn't appear, she would take matters into her own hands. Her sadness for Heron had already turned into something darker. A desire for justice, possibly even vengeance. She grabbed her coat, which Heron had given her last winter, and tucked a notebook containing her observations into her bag. The streets outside were merciless, as was she. Willow had learned early on that trust was a luxury she could not afford, and Drew's absence just reinforced this notion. She'd find out the truth for herself, even if it meant crossing lines she'd previously vowed never to cross. The city at night was a maze of shadows and neon, with each alley posing a potential trap. Willow hurried fast, her boots splashing through puddles as she approached the warehouse sector. Heron had mentioned a contact there, someone who had been giving him information on a syndicate related to his previous case. If Drew's proof wasn't forthcoming, she'd pursue this lead instead. Her thoughts turned to the prospect that Drew's absence was more than simply cowardice, that he had been apprehended, silenced, or worse. The thought sent a shiver down her spine, but she dismissed it. She couldn't afford to care about him right now. Not while Heron's assassins were still out there, lurking behind their money and power. The warehouse loomed ahead, a massive silhouette against the stormy sky. Willow's heart raced as she slipped past a rusting gate, her eyes searching for any sign of activity. She didn't have a plan, just a strong need to retaliate against whoever had taken Heron from her. The notebook in her bag seemed heavier with each step, its pages filled with names, dates, and links that pointed to a larger conspiracy than she had thought. If she could find the contact, she might be able to piece it all together. But as she reached the warehouse door, a man emerged from the shadows, their face hidden by a hood. Willow froze, automatically grabbing for the knife she kept tucked under her boot. "Are you looking for someone?" the figure inquired, their tone low and sarcastic. Willow's heart hammered, but she refused to back down. This was it, the moment when she'd either discover the truth or become another casualty in Heron's fight. Despite her dread, she straightened her posture and kept her voice firm. "I'm looking for answers," she explained, "and I'm done waiting for them."